So we'll start with the hiring process. Traditionally, you go to an interview and you proceed from there. However, with the interview, that's frightening for some autistic adults. They're meeting in a strange place, they're meeting a stranger, they're meeting someone who tells them to shake my hand, and some people are adverse to touch. And tell me a little bit about yourself. And they're just petrified. They just can't open up to a complete stranger. I suggest meeting at a neutral location, perhaps a coffee shop, perhaps a favorite restaurant. If you're going to meet at your office, make sure it's a neutral location. There aren't ceiling fans that distract, or you don't have a giant aquarium in the background that has a tiger fish, something that will bring the focus from you and what you're saying onto the client or the potential employee. There are things like colors, textures, noises, background noises. Make sure you're not in a room next to the snack room or the cafeteria. A lot of autistic people have an aversion to certain smells, certain odors. I'm reminded of a story. One dad told me that they lived next door to a restaurant, and some of the spices and herbs that the restaurant used in certain meals just was unbearable for his autistic son. And he said he would take him for long walks. Sometimes they'd get in the car and drive, and I think eventually they may have moved because it was just that bad. This young man's olfactory senses just worked overtime. He perhaps had some other deficits, but that's the nature of autism. One area may be highly pronounced or overdeveloped, while others tend to be, there may be some deficits or underdevelopment. Following the interview, typically, you're invited to come in and let's start our job training, job evaluation. Evaluating autistic adults is a completely ball game. You're looking at typically a 90-day probationary period or trial period. I recommend extending that to at least 6 months. Give that person a time to get comfortable in the environment. You're evaluating them, but they're also evaluating you. There may be tasks or aspects of the job that they may have difficulty with. Given time, I think they could adjust and they could do very well. I recommend 6 months or even 1 year. Use that as a period to get to know each other. As an employer, you're getting to know autism, particularly that person with autism. There's an expression that goes, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, because they're all different, completely different and so different, and autism impacts them all in various ways. I once was invited to participate in a panel discussion of college students, young people. They were all autistic. I think there were 7 or 8 participants, but there was such a wide range of diversity. We had the jokester on one hand. I remember there was a young lady at the very end of the table that kept her head down. She always looked down. And every time I looked at someone else to speak, I saw her out of the corner of my eye. She'd pick her head up. Never spoke, but she would pick her head up. Opposite end, I was sitting next to someone that had very little affect, a young lady. She just looked so cold, her expressions, her body language, but she was speaking friendly, kind words, but her body language said, I'll rip your heart out. But she was the nicest person.